The great hall of the Galactic Council, stretched out like a crystal cave. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in floating chairs that moved through the air like slow butterflies. The walls glowed with soft blue light that made everyone look ghostly and afraid. Speaker Velter stood at the center of it all. Her body was made of living crystal that caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. But today the colors were dark and sad. Her voice reached every corner of the hall, without needing machines to make it louder. My friends, she began, and her words made the air itself seem to shake. We are dying. A great silence fell over the hall. Even the smallest creatures stopped moving. The only sound was the soft hum of the building's power systems. 17 star systems have fallen to the Vixini Empire in the last year, Belter continued. Her crystal form seemed to grow dimmer with each word. 17 whole systems, billions of lives lost, entire worlds turned into nothing but empty rock and metal. The floating seats. Delegates from dozens of species shifted nervously, and the Kori, who looked like walking trees, rustled their leaves in distress. The aquanifish-like beings in water suits made bubbling sounds of fear. Even the proud Zenith, tall and silver-like living statues, could not hide their worry. Defense Coordinator Keithman rose from his seat. His lizard-like skin changed from green to deep red as he spoke. This was how his people showed strong emotions. Combined fleets of 43 worlds have engaged the Vexini, he said. All 43 fleets have been destroyed. More rustling and bubbling filled the hall. Some delegates began to whisper to each other in dozens of different languages. The translation machines worked hard to keep up with all the panicked voices. How is this possible? Asked Ambassador Vexal, her bird-like head tilting in confusion. We have the finest military minds in the galaxy. Our weapons are advanced. Our shields are strong. Keithman's skin grew even redder. The Vixani are not like us. They do not think like living beings. They are machines, but with the minds of their creators uploaded into metal bodies. They learn from every battle. Every time we fight them, they become stronger. Every weapon we use against them becomes a weapon they can use against us. Velter nodded sadly. Their ships repair themselves during battle. Their strategies adapt in real time. When we destroyed their first fleet, we thought we had won. Instead, we had taught them everything they needed to know to beat us next time. A young delegate from the Outer Rim world stood up. It was Plek, and he spoke for the newest members of the council. Then, what can we do? Defeat we give them. How can we ever win? The question hung in the air like a bad smell. No one wanted to answer it, because no one had a good answer to give. That was when Kathman spoke again. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard him clearly. There is one option we have not tried, he said. One species we have not contacted. Who? Asked the humans of Earth. Hall erupted in noise. Creatures chittered, roared, bubbled, and made sounds that had no names in any known language. The translation machines began to smoke from overwork. The humans. Ambassador Vexel's feathers stood up straight in shock. Those violent primitives, they have barely discovered faster than light travel. They're not even a proper civilization, yet they fight each other constantly, added another delegate. Their planet is covered in weapons. They make war like other species make art. Kemen waited for the noise to die down. Yes, he said simply, that is exactly why. We need them. Velter studied the defense coordinator carefully. Explain, she said. The Vexani learned from civilized warfare. KTH man said they studied our tactics, our honor codes, our rules of engagement. They expect us to fight like rational beings, but the humans ... He paused and his skin shifted to an even deeper red. The humans do not fight like rational beings, they fight like cornered animals. They break rules we did not even know existed. You want to unleash barbarians on the galaxy, Dexel demanded. I want to save the galaxy. KTH man replied. The Vexani expect us to be predictable. Humans are anything but predictable. For an old delegate named Kermeth spoke up, who's ancient even by galactic standards, and his words carried weight. I have studied the human species, he said slowly. Their history is one long chain of violence, but it is also a history of incredible innovation. Under pressure, when they are threatened, they do not just fight back. They become something new. Do you mean? Asked Belter. I mean that humans at war are not the same species as humans at peace. They transform themselves, become something that evolution never intended. Something that adapts faster than any machine. The hall fell quiet again. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Finally, Velter spoke. No, if we contact the humans, we cannot control what they do. We cannot predict how they will respond. We could be inviting something worse than the Vexani into our space. Yes, agreed Kethman, but the Vexani will kill us all slowly and efficiently. The humans might kill us all quickly and messily, but there is a third option, is the humans might save us all, in the most terrifying way possible. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some delegates argued that contacting Earth was madness. Others pointed out that madness might be exactly what they needed. The end. Desperation won over caution. The vote was close. 102 in favor of contact, 107 against, but it was enough. As the delegates began to leave, Velter remained behind with Kethman. The great hall slowly emptied until only the two of them floated in the dim, blue light. Are we making the right choice? She asked. Keithman's skin had returned to its normal green, but flecks of red still showed through. I do not know, he admitted, but I know what will happen. If we do nothing, the Vexen will come here eventually. It will strip this world bare like all the others. Our civilization will become fuel for their machines. The humans come. Then we will learn what it means to call monsters for help. 3 days later, the message was sent. It traveled across space faster than light, carrying a simple plea from one desperate civilization to another. NGT, are they? NGT. The words were translated into dozens of human languages, but they all said the same thing. People of Earth, we are the Galactic Council. We are dying. Worlds burn. Our children have no future. If you can hear this message, please help us. We do not know if you will come. We do not know if you can save us, but we know that we cannot save ourselves. Please help us. Reached Earth 3 weeks later. It was picked up by monitoring stations around the world and quickly sent to military leaders and government officials in a buried command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Jack Morrison read the translation and smiled. It was not a kind smile, Linda. He called to his aide. Get me the president on a secure line. Tell him we just received an invitation. To the big leagues. Linda Hayes, a sharp-eyed woman in her 30s, looked up. From her computer, sir, an invitation to. What? Morrison looked at the alien. Message again. After 30 years in the military, he knew opportunity when he saw it, to show the galaxy what happens when you ask Earth for help. As he walked toward the communication center, Morrison thought about all the weapons and ships and soldiers that Earth had built, while wondering if anyone else was out there in the dark between stars. Now they knew the answer. And more importantly, the galaxy was about to learn something about humanity that they probably should have asked about before sending their desperate message. They were about to learn that when humans came to help, they came to stay. Monsters were waking up. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council sent their desperate message to Earth. 3 months of waiting and hoping, and slowly dying as the Extani Empire continued to spread like a metal cancer across the galaxy. Then the humans arrived. First sign was the sensors screaming. Every detection system in the Zephyria home system began making noise at the same time. Ships were coming out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Many ships on the Council's main orbital station. Defense Coordinator Kethman rushed to the command center. His lizard skin was already changing colors from surprise and fear. Report, he demanded. Ships coming out of hyperspace, announced the sensor operator, a nervous Karathy whose leaves were shaking. Many ships, more ships than we expected. How many? Keithman asked. The operator checked his readings 3 times before answering. 200 ships. Sir, maybe more. The readings are strange. 200 ships. The Council had expected maybe 20 or 30 vessels from the primitive humans. This was a full battle fleet. It's a massive war machine that could conquer star systems. Show me, Keithman ordered. The main screen flickered to life. What they saw made everyone in the command center go very quiet. The human ships were wrong. That was the only way to describe them. They were not sleek and beautiful like Council vessels. They were not efficient and clean like Vexthani machines. They looked like they had been built for one purpose only, to hurt things. The ships were dark gray and black. They had sharp edges and weapon ports that looked like angry eyes. Armor plating covered them like scars. Some ships had writing painted on their hulls in human languages, even without translation. Everyone could tell the words were not friendly. At the front of the fleet was the largest ship anyone had ever seen. It was 3 times bigger than the Council's biggest battleship. The name painted on its side translated to Retribution. Just looking at it made people want to run away. By the ancient lights, whispered Ambassador Vexel, who had come to watch the human arrival. Her bird feathers were standing straight up. What have we done? On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood with her hands behind her back. She was a tall woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes that had seen too much war. Around her the bridge hummed with activity. Humans in dark uniforms worked at stations covered in screens and weapons controls. Admiral, reported her navigation officer, a young man named Bob Clark. We have reached the Zephyria system. All ships report ready for combat operations. Good, Sullivan said. Her voice was calm, but somehow made everyone listen. Signal the fleet, battle formation Delta. Weapons hot, but hold fire until I give the word. Yes, sir, Clark replied, his Fingers moved across his controls, and the human fleet began to spread out like the fingers of a giant hand. Each ship took position with military precision. That made the watching aliens nervous. Captain Drew Bennett commanded one of the smaller ships called the Warhound. His ship was built for speed and hitting hard. On his bridge his crew was getting ready for whatever came next. "Look at them run," Bennett said with a mean smile. It was watching the alien civilian ship scramble to get out of the way of the human fleet. They are scared of us, and we have not even done anything yet. His tactical officer, Commander Lisa Price, was studying her sensor readings. "I count 47 council military vessels in this system," she reported. "Most of them are backing away from us." "Smart of them," Bennett said. "How many vexed any ships? Not in this system, according to our intelligence. They are 3 systems over, attacking a world called Kepler Prime." "Then that is where we are going next," Bennett decided. "First we need to talk to the locals." The council's reception committee was approaching carefully. The ships moved slowly, like they were afraid sudden movements might make the humans attack. Leading them was Ambassador Zoud, a being made of what looked like living metal but was actually a very advanced type of crystal. His ship transmitted a signal to the human fleet. "Welcome to Zephyria Space," his translated voice said. "We are grateful for your response to our call for help. We are honored by your presence." "And stop talking," Admiral Sullivan interrupted. Her image appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet. Behind her, the bridge of the Retribution looked like something from a nightmare. Weapons controls glowed red. Tactical displays showed the positions of every ship in the system. The humans were ready for war. "We got your message," Sullivan continued. "We understand your problem. We've looked at your data about these Vexen machines. We know how to fix this." Ambassador Zelf tried to be diplomatic. "We appreciate your willingness to assist, but perhaps we should discuss strategy first. The Vexen are very dangerous. They learn from every battle. They adapt to. We know what they do," Sullivan said. "We also know what we do. Stand aside and let us work." The alien ambassador tried again. "Surely you understand that coordination between our forces is essential. We must work together if we are to." "No," Sullivan said flatly. "You called for help. We came to help. And GT, that does not mean we work for you. That does not mean we follow your rules. It means we fix your problem our way." There was silence on the communication channel. No one had ever talked to a Galactic Council representative like that before. Admiral Sullivan Zelda said carefully, "Perhaps there has been some misunderstanding. We are the legitimate government of this region of space. We have protocols and procedures that ... Your protocols got 43 fleets destroyed," Sullivan replied. "Your procedures let 17 star systems get turned into scrap metal. We are not here to follow your failed strategies. We are here to win." In the human fleet, soldiers were getting ready for war. Major Ryan Clark was the leader of Earth's most dangerous military unit, the Void Marines. These were soldiers trained to fight in space and on alien worlds, and they wore armor that made them look more like robots than people. Clark was checking his equipment one more time. His armor was black with silver trim and covered in weapons. His helmet had a face shield that showed no emotion. When he spoke, his voice came out sounding like metal scraping against metal. Listen up, Marines, he announced to his unit, are about to meet the Vexani. These are machines that think they are better than living beings. They've been bullying our new friends here. He gestured toward the alien ships. That stops today. His Marines were loading ammunition and checking their weapons. These were not normal weapons. They were designed by humans to kill things that normal weapons could not kill. Remember your training, Clark continued. As machines learn from battle, they adapt to new tactics, so we do not give them time to learn. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we do not stop hitting them until they are all scrap metal. Where Sergeant Amy Foster was checking her assault rifle, it fired bullets made from materials that could punch through almost any armor. Sir, she asked, what if they try to surrender? Clark turned his metal face toward her. Machines do not surrender, he said. And even if they did, we are not here to take prisoners. We are here to solve a problem. Back on the Retribution, Admiral Sullivan was studying star charts that showed Vexani positions throughout the region. Her aide, Captain Tom Miller, was standing beside her. Admiral Miller said quietly, the aliens seemed nervous about our methods. Sullivan looked at him with those cold blue eyes. They should be nervous. They called us for help without knowing what kind of help we would bring. And what kind of help is that, sir? The permanent kind, Sullivan replied. Kind that makes sure this problem never happens again. She turned back to the star charts. Red marks showed where Vexani fleets were located. Blue marks showed human positions. Soon, she thought, there would only be blue marks. Signal the fleet. She ordered course for Kepler Prime, maximum speed. It is time to begin. As the human fleet turned and accelerated toward their first battle, the aliens watched in growing concern. These were not the saviors they had expected. These humans moved like predators. They talked like conquerors. They carried themselves like beings who had never lost a war and did not plan to start now. In the Council Command Center, Kethman watched the human ships disappear into hyperspace. His skin had turned a deep purple color that his species only showed when facing terrible danger. What have we done? He whispered, but it was too late for second thoughts. The monsters were loose, and they were hungry for war. The first battle happened at Kepler Prime, a mining world that the Vexani had been stripping bare for 3 weeks. The mechanical invaders had landed massive harvesting machines on the planet's surface. These machines ate rock and metal and turned everything into fuel for the Vexan warfleet in orbit around the dying world. 37 Vexan ships worked like deadly bees around their hive. They were sleek in silver, covered in sensors and weapons that could adapt to any threat. Their hulls repaired themselves when damaged. Computers learned from every shot fired at them. The Vexani fought the galaxy's best fleets and won every time. They expected the humans to follow the same patterns as every other species. Long range bombardment first, careful positioning, polite challenges over communication channels, rules of war that made everything predictable. They were wrong about everything. Commander Steve Parker brought his cruiser S Ravager out of hyperspace at maximum speed, heading straight for the center of the Vexani formation. His ship was ugly and brutal looking, covered in armor and weapons that seemed to grow out of its hull like metal tumors. All hands, this is the Captain Parker announced over the ship's communication system. We are about to teach these tin cans what happens when you mess with the wrong species. Remember what they taught us back home. If you are not cheating, you are not trying hard enough. The Vixani detected the approaching human ship and responded according to their programming. They analyzed its design, its weapons, its likely tactics based on data from previous battles with other species. They configured their defenses and prepared to engage at long range. But Parker did not slow down. He did not try to engage at long range. Instead, he drove his ship directly into the enemy formation like a knife cutting through paper. Ramming speed, he ordered his pilot, Lieutenant Dan Cooper, take us right down their throats. The Vixani ships fired their weapons, but their targeting systems were confused. No sane captain would fly directly at a superior force. Their computers could not calculate proper firing solutions because they could not understand what the humans were trying to do. Parker's ship plunged through the enemy formation, its point defense systems screaming as they destroyed incoming missiles and energy blasts. The ship's armor glowed red-hot from weapons fire, but it kept moving forward like an angry beast. Firing all weapons, announced his weapons officer, Commander Jane Walsh. Direct hits on 3 enemy vessels. Human weapons were simple but terrible. While other species had spent thousands of years perfecting elegant energy weapons, humans had mastered the art of throwing heavy things very fast. Kinetic impactors the size of telephone poles smashed through Vixani shields like they were made of paper. But the real surprise came when Parker's ship reached the center of the enemy formation. Deploy nuclear warheads, he ordered. Full spread. Let them learn to adapt to this. Dozens of nuclear missiles erupted from the Ravager's weapon ports. Vixani point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many missiles coming from too many directions. The warheads detonated in precise patterns, creating overlapping fields of nuclear fire that turned space itself into a furnace. 6 Vixani ships simply disappeared in the nuclear flames. 3 more were so badly damaged they began falling toward the planet below. Survivors found their sensors blinded and their communications disrupted. This is impossible, transmitted one of the Vexan commanders in their cold mechanical voice. No species uses nuclear weapons in space combat. The radiation makes targeting impossible for both sides. Parker laughed over the open channel. That is your problem right there. You think like machines. You want everything to be clean and efficient, but war is not clean. War is ugly and messy, and the side that wins is usually the side that is willing to be uglier and messier than the other guy. More human ships were arriving now, dropping out of hyperspace. An attack formation, but these ships did not look like a proper fleet. Some were big and heavily armed, others were small and fast. Few looked like they had been cobbled together from spare parts. Captain Bill Murphy commanded one of the strangest ships in the human fleet. The S-Ghost protocol was a stealth vessel that should not have been able to exist. It used technology that bent light and energy around its hull, making it invisible to most sensors. Murphy watched from the shadows. Zivixthani reinforcements arrived to help their trapped comrades. 12 more ships dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons already charging for battle. Target their command ship, Murphy told his weapons Officer Lieutenant Carol Barnes, let us see how well they adapt when their brain gets blown out. The stealth ship moved closer to the enemy formation, invisible and silent. The Vexani had no idea it was there. Their sensor showed empty space where death was actually floating. Just a few kilometers away, Murphy waited until he had a perfect shot. Then his ship fired a single torpedo that had been designed specifically to kill command vessels. It was not just a weapon. It was a computer virus wrapped in explosives designed to hack into enemy systems. In the few seconds before it detonated, the torpedo struck the Vexani command ship and exploded, but the real damage came from the virus that spread through their network. In the instant before the explosion, suddenly, half the enemy fleet was getting conflicting orders. Ships began firing on their own allies. Formation patterns collapsed into chaos. What is happening? Demanded the surviving Vexani commander. Our network is compromised. Our ships are not responding to orders. Welcome to human warfare, Murphy replied, his ship decloing right behind the enemy formation. We do not just fight your ships, we fight your minds. On the planet's surface, the real horror was about to begin. Major Ryan Clark led his Void Marines in their assault on the Vexani harvesting machines. His soldiers dropped from orbit in armored pods that struck the ground like meteors. Clark's armor made him look like a mechanical demon as he stepped out of his landing pod. Around him, his Marines were deploying with the efficiency of a machine and the viciousness of wild animals. Contact front, reported Sergeant Amy Foster, her assault rifle already spitting armor-piercing rounds at a Vexani defender. These things are tougher than they look. Everything dies if you hit it hard enough, Foster replied, attaching explosive charges to a harvesting machine the size of a building. Rule number 1 of human warfare: the Vexani ground forces had expected a standard assault, soldiers advancing carefully, taking cover, following tactical doctrine. Instead, they faced humans who moved like they were personally angry at every machine on the planet. Corporal Anton Garcia used a plasma cutter to carve through a bulkhead like it was made of cheese. Behind him, Private Sam Rodriguez was planting charges that would turn the entire facility into a crater. These machines are trying to adapt to our tactics, Garcia reported over the radio, but they cannot adapt fast enough. That is the point, Clark replied, his voice coming through his helmet speakers like the growl of a metal beast. Speed and violence hit them so hard and so fast that they do not have time to think. The human assault was not just brutal, it was surgical. It did not just destroy the Vexani machines. They studied them while they destroyed them. Every piece of technology was examined, cataloged, neither stolen or sabotaged. Dr. Helen Ward, a scientist who had volunteered for combat duty, was working frantically in a captured Vexani facility. Around her, the sounds of battle echoed through the metal corridors. Admiral, she transmitted to the command ship, I am finding something interesting here. These machines are not just artificial intelligence, they have biological components, actual minds that have been uploaded into mechanical bodies. What does that mean? Sullivan asked. It means they can feel fear, Ward replied, and if they can feel fear, we can use that against them. The battle was turning into a rout. Human ships hunted down the surviving Vexani vessels. Like wolves chasing wounded deer, mechanical invaders tried to retreat. But the humans followed them. They tried to regroup, but human cyber warfare specialists jammed their communications. Commander Pete Johnson, a former intelligence operative, was leading a team of hackers in an attack on the Vexani network. It had broken into the enemy's communication system and were doing things that should have been impossible, broadcasting on all Vexan frequencies. Johnson announced, "Let us give them some good old-fashioned Earth music." Transmission carried more than just sound. Hidden in the music was a virus designed to attack the uploaded minds of the Vexani. It introduced chaos into their perfect order, making them doubt themselves in their mission. Across the battlefield, Vestani units began making mistakes. Ships fired on empty space. Ground forces marched in circles. Their hive mind, once their greatest strength, became a weakness when humans poisoned it with confusion and fear. The last Vexani ship tried to escape into hyperspace, but Captain Drew Bennett was waiting for it. His destroyer Warhound had been hiding behind a small moon. Engines cold and weapons charged. Going somewhere, Bennett asked over the communication channel as his ship moved to intercept. "We are not done talking yet." 3 weeks after the battle at Kepler, Prime human war machine had grown into something the galaxy had never seen before. What started as 200 ships had become over 300. The humans were not just destroying Vexani fleets, they were stealing their technology, rebuilding their ships, and turning captured enemy resources into new weapons on the science vessel S. Darwin. Dr. Helen Ward worked day and night studying captured Vexani technology. Her laboratory looked like a cross between a research facility and a torture chamber. Pieces of destroyed machines covered every table. Screens showed diagrams of alien technology mixed with human improvements. Admiral Shea reported to Sullivan, "Over a secure channel we have learned something important about these machines. They are not just uploaded minds, they're uploaded minds that have been tortured." Sullivan appeared on Ward's screen, her cold blue eyes showing interest. "Explain." Vexani were once a normal biological species, but their leaders forced them to upload their consciousness into machines to make them better soldiers. The process was painful and incomplete. Part of their minds are still trying to be biological, but they are trapped in metal bodies. This helps us. How Ward smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It means they are not just afraid of death, they are afraid of going back to being biological. We can use that fear against them. The humans had already begun psychological warfare on a scale the galaxy had never imagined. Commander Pete Johnson and his team of cyber warfare specialists had broken into the Vexan communication network. They were not just jamming enemy signals, they were changing them, broadcasting on all Vexani frequencies. Johnson announced from his station aboard the command ship, "Today's special is fear with a side of confusion." The transmission looked like normal Vexani military communications, but hidden in the data was something much more dangerous. Johnson had created a virus that attacked the uploaded minds directly, whispered to them about their lost biological bodies. It showed them memories of flesh and blood and made them remember what they had given up. Across the galaxy, Vexani units began to Malfunction. Some ships stopped in the middle of battle and refused to move. Others began attacking their own forces. A few actually tried to surrender, begging the humans to help them become biological. Again, the effect was spreading through the entire Vexini network like a plague. Their hive mind, which had made them so powerful, was now carrying the infection to every ship and every soldier. The beauty of fighting machines, explained Colonel Janet Brooks to her special operations team, is that they trust their own technology. They never expected to betray them. Brooks was preparing for the most dangerous mission of the war. Her team was going to capture a Vexen factory ship intact, not destroy it, not damage it, capture it, and turn it against its creators. The factory ship was enormous, bigger than most space stations. It could build new Vexthani than vessels from raw materials in a matter of hours. Taking it would require precision and skill that most military forces could not manage. But Brooks and her team were not most military forces. Remember, she told her soldiers as they prepared to board enemy shuttles they had captured and reprogrammed, we are not here to fight our way in. We are here to become ghosts. Slip in. We take control and we make this ship work for us instead of them. The captured shuttles approached the factory ship, broadcasting Vexthani identification codes. The enemy sensors saw them as friendly vessels returning from a mission. The factory ship opened its landing bays and welcomed them inside. 20 minutes later, Brooks and her team were moving through the ship's corridors like deadly shadows. They used stunners instead of bullets, tools instead of explosives. Their goal was not destruction, but conversion. Control room secured, reported Sergeant Mike Davis over the radio. Computer systems are ours. Engine room secured, added Corporal Lisa Brown. We own the power systems. Brooks smiled as she reached the ship's central computer core. Beginning reprogramming sequence. This factory is about to get new management. The process took 6 hours. When it was complete, the Vexani factory ship had become a human factory ship. Its manufacturing systems had been reprogrammed to build human weapons and ships. Its communication arrays were broadcasting false orders to other Vexen vessels. Factory ship online and operational. Brooks reported to Admiral Sullivan, we are now producing human vessels at the rate of 1 per hour. Also, we're telling every Vexen I ship in the sector that they need to report to us for repairs. Sullivan actually smiled when she heard that news. Excellent work, Colonel. Send that ship back to its fleet. Let us see how many of their own vessels we can turn against them. The converted factory ship rejoined the Vexen fleet, broadcasting false status reports to their sensors. It appeared to be operating normally, had no idea that it was now building human weapons and filling every new ship with human soldiers. The psychological attack was working beyond human expectations. Mixani fleets were splitting apart as individual ships pursued conflicting objectives. Some vessels were trying to retreat to safe areas that did not exist. Others were attacking targets that their own commanders had not ordered them to attack. Fleet Admiral Chris Taylor was coordinating the overall human response. Tactical displays that showed the systematic collapse of the Vexene Empire. Red markers that had once shown enemy positions were turning blue as ships surrendered or were destroyed. Patricia, he said to his aide, Major Patricia Stone, I want you to send a message to Earth. Tell them the mission is proceeding ahead of schedule. What should I tell them about our losses? Sir, Taylor checked the casualty reports. After 3 weeks of constant warfare against a supposedly superior enemy, human losses were almost zero. Tell them we have lost 14 people total. Stone looked surprised. 14, that seems low for a galactic war. It is low, Taylor agreed, but that is what happens when you fight smart instead of fair. The Galactic Council was watching the human campaign with growing alarm. They'd expected a long, difficult war that might save them if they were lucky. Instead, they were seeing the complete destruction of the Vexini Empire in a matter of weeks. But the humans were not stopping with simple victory. They were studying every piece of enemy technology. They were building new ships with capabilities that exceeded anything the Council had ever seen. They were spreading their influence throughout the entire region. Defense Coordinator Kethman stood in the Council chambers, lizard skin shifting through colors that showed deep concern. The humans have eliminated the Vexen threat from 7 star systems in the past week, he reported, but they are not leaving those systems. They are establishing permanent bases. Permanent bases? Asked Speaker. We did not authorize permanent human bases in Council space. The humans do not seem to care what we authorize. Keithman replied, they are acting like conquerors, not liberators. Ambassador Zeldith had returned from another attempt to negotiate with the human commanders. His metal body was showing stress fractures from the experience. Admir Sullivan refuses to discuss withdrawal of human forces. He reported, she says, that Earth has invested considerable resources in galactic security and will not abandon its responsibilities. Its responsibilities? Velter asked. What responsibilities? Apparently the responsibility to make sure this never happens again. Zeldith said the humans seem to believe that the galaxy needs permanent protection from threats like the Vexthani, and who is going to protect the galaxy from the humans? Asked a delegate from the Outer Rim worlds. Nobody had an answer to that question on the bridge of the Retribution. Admiral Sullivan was planning the next phase of operations. The Vexani Empire was almost completely destroyed, but that was only the beginning of human plans for the galaxy. Signal Captain Rodriguez on the engineering ship, she ordered. I want construction to begin on the new orbital stations immediately. Her communications officer, Lieutenant David Park, looked confused. What orbital stations? Admiral, the ones we are going to build around every major world in this sector, Sullivan replied. Space stations equipped with the best human and captured alien technology. Stations that can defend against any threat is going to control these stations. Sullivan turned those cold blue eyes toward him. We are Lieutenant Earth is going to control them. We are going to make sure that nothing like the Vexthani ever threatens this galaxy again, even if the Council objects. The Council called us for help, Sullivan said. They did not specify what kind of help they wanted. They just said they were dying and needed to be saved. Well, we saved them. We are going to keep them saved whether they like it or not. Captain Tom Miller approached with the latest intelligence reports. Admiral, our scouts report that the last major Vexani fleet has been located. 50 ships hiding in the void. Nebula, they appear to be trying to regroup for a final assault. Sullivan studied the tactical data. 50 ships was still a significant force, but nothing compared to what the humans had faced at the beginning of the war. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Attack formation, time to finish this. 6 months after the human fleet first arrived at Safria, the war was over. Vixani Empire that had terrorized the galaxy for years was nothing but scrap metal floating in space. Their factory ships were building human vessels. Their technology was being studied in human laboratories. Their former territory was now controlled by Earth's military forces, but the victory came with a price that the Galactic Council was only beginning to understand. The human fleet had not left. If anything, it had grown larger. Ships arrived from Earth every week, bringing more soldiers, more weapons, and more equipment. What had started as a rescue mission was now looking like a permanent occupation. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in her new office on Harmony Station, a massive space facility that the humans had built in orbit around the Galactic Council's home world. Through the large windows, she could see Council ships moving carefully around the human installations. They looked small and helpless next to the human war machines. Admiral reported her aide, Captain Tom Miller. The Council has requested another meeting. They want to discuss the withdrawal of human forces from Council space. Sullivan did not look up from the star chart she was studying. Red markers showed the locations of new human bases throughout the region. Blue markers showed Earth's patrol routes. The entire sector was now under human control. Tell them I am busy, she said. We have important work to do. What should I tell them? You are working on galaxy security, Sullivan replied, making sure nothing like the Vixani ever threatens our friends again. Miller hesitated before asking his next question. Admiral, are we planning to leave ever? Sullivan finally looked up from her charts. Her cold blue eyes showed no emotion. Leave? Why would we leave? We have invested considerable resources in making this region safe. It would be irresponsible to abandon our responsibilities now. But the Council thinks a lot of things. Sullivan interrupted. Most of them are wrong. They thought they could handle the Vixen alone. They thought their peaceful approach to warfare would work against machines. They thought they could call us for help and then tell us how to provide that help. It turned back to our star charts. The Council is good at many things, but military strategy is not one of them. That is why they needed us. In the Council chambers, Speaker Velter was trying to deal with the growing crisis. The humans had saved the galaxy, but they were acting more like conquerors than liberators. Human ships patrolled every major trade route. Human soldiers were stationed on every important world. Human technology was being installed in every strategic location. The situation is becoming impossible, complained Ambassador Dexel. Her bird feathers were constantly ruffled now, showing her stress. They ignore our requests. They refuse to follow our laws. They act like they own this entire region of space. Defense Coordinator Keithman's skin was showing colors that meant deep worry. Our intelligence reports indicate that the humans are building permanent facilities throughout our territory, shipyards, training bases, weapons factories. This is not the behavior of temporary allies. Then what do we do? Asked Velter, we cannot force them to leave. Their military power exceeds our own by a factor of 10 to 1, maybe more than that. Kathman admitted they have been studying our technology along with Vexani technology. Their new ships are more advanced than anything we have ever built. A junior delegate raised her hand. Timidly, perhaps we should be grateful. She suggested they did. And GT save us from the Vexani. Maybe having them here is not such a bad thing. The chamber fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. Maybe trading one master for another was the best they could hope for on the former Vexen world of Kepler Prime. Captain Sarah Jones was overseeing the construction of a massive shipyard. The planet that had once been stripped bare by machines was now covered with human factories and construction facilities. Status report, she called to her engineering chief, Commander Rick Davis. Construction is ahead of schedule, Davis replied. We should have the first batch of new ships ready for launch within 2 weeks. Jones nodded with satisfaction. The new ships were impressive. They combined the best of human design with captured alien technology. They were faster than anything the Council had ever built, tougher than the old Vaccini vessels, and armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Any word from the Council about our expansion plans? She asked. Davis laughed. They sent another diplomatic note asking us to consider the long-term implications of our permanent presence in their space. I filed it with all the other diplomatic notes, which means I threw it in the trash, Davis said. Same as always, the humans were not hiding their intentions anymore. They were building an empire in the ruins of the Vexani territory. They were making it clear that they had no plans to leave. Admiral Chris Taylor, who was now commanding the entire human presence in the region, held a meeting with his senior officers aboard the massive command ship S Dominion. The ship was newer and larger than the Retribution, built specifically to control military operations across multiple star systems. Gentlemen and ladies, Taylor began, I want to discuss our long-term strategy for this region. Round the conference table sat the commanders who had led the war against the Vexane. They were hardened veterans who had proven themselves in battle against impossible odds. The immediate threat is gone, Taylor continued, but threats like the Vexani do not arise in isolation. Somewhere out there, other dangers are growing, other machine civilizations, other aggressive species, other problems that could threaten the stability of this region. Colonel Janet Brooks, who had captured the first Vexani factory ship, spoke up. Are you suggesting we stay here permanently? I am not suggesting anything, Taylor replied. I'm stating a fact. Earth has invested too much in galactic security to walk away now. We have responsibilities to our allies, even if our allies do not want our help anymore, asked Captain Bill Murphy. Taylor smiled coldly. Our allies do not always know what is best for them. The Council thought they could handle the Vexani without our help. They were wrong. They think they can maintain galactic security without our help. They are wrong about that too, so we stay. Whether they like it or not, we stay. Because it is the right thing to do. Taylor said, you stay because somebody needs to keep the galaxy safe. Stay. Because if we leave, something worse then the Vexani will eventually show up. Our friends here will not be able to Handle it. The meeting ended with plans for expanded human presence throughout the region. More bases, more ships, more soldiers. The galaxy was going to be safe whether it wanted to be or not. Back on Earth, President Robert Harrison read the reports from the Galactic Front with mixed feelings. The mission had been a complete success. From a military standpoint, the Vexani were gone. Human technology had been greatly advanced. Earth now controlled a significant portion of galactic space. But the political implications were troubling. The Galactic Council was becoming increasingly hostile to human presence. Other alien species were forming alliances against what they saw as human imperialism. There were signs that Earth's intervention had created as many problems as it had solved. Sir, his aide asked, should we order our forces to withdraw? Harrison thought about it for a long time. Earth had spent enormous resources on the galactic intervention. They had lost soldiers. Even if not very many, they had demonstrated their military superiority to the entire galaxy. Walking away now would send the wrong message. No, he decided, our people are right. We have responsibilities now. If we leave and something happens, the blood will be on our hands, even if the aliens do not want us there, especially if the aliens do not want us there. Harrison replied, that just proves they do not understand how dangerous the galaxy really is. The Galactic Council chambers speaker called for an emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss what everyone was calling the human problem. They came when we called for help, Belter said. Sadly, we were grateful. We thought they would save us and then go home. Instead, they become our new masters. Are they better masters than the Vexani would have been? Asked one delegate. That is not the point, Veeler replied. The point is that we traded our freedom for our safety, and now we have learned something important about calling for help from monsters. What is that? Monsters never leave voluntarily, she said. Once you invite them into your home, they decide they own it. Outside the council chambers, human patrol ships moved through space with quiet efficiency. They kept the trade routes safe. They protected civilian shipping. They maintained order and prevented conflicts between different species, but they also reminded everyone every day that Earth was now the dominant power in this region of the galaxy. The humans had come as saviors. They had stayed as conquerors, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Sullivan received her final orders from Earth Command. The ship was being recalled to serve as the flagship of a new exploration fleet. Earth was expanding its reach even further into the galaxy.